Kia ora. I've been asked to do a couple of these from Paulie, and I've unfortunately never made it, where this one I could actually make, so I was really excited about it. Apart from the other ones were on sustainability, and I found that really comfortable. I didn't read the fine print about Entrepreneurship 101. So I'm just going to talk about a couple of lessons I've learned over and over, and a few stories of how I learnt those lessons, and hopefully you guys find it useful. But in full transparency, I actually had to Google the definition of an entrepreneur because I didn't know what it was. And it said, a person who sets up a business or businesses taking on financial risk in the hope of profit. After reading the definition, I actually felt more distance from an entrepreneur than I did before. So how I started, I found myself at university down in Otago, and I was in one of my first design lectures, and my design lecturer said, look outside. Everything you can see is design. The way the city works, the clothes people are wearing, the food people are eating, the menus, everything is design. So when something is broken or causing harm, you can just simply redesign it. And that kind of changed the way I'd looked at the world, but it wasn't until a few years later where a flatmate of mine got an espresso machine, and I had been a barista my whole life, and I was amazed that this thing at the push of a button did my job. But what I realized is that actually this product, you put it in the machine and you push it and it's used for 8 seconds and then you throw it in the landfill. And that was the whole life cycle. And George Clooney's face was all over it. They were selling billions, and I thought, surely this is a problem. And I got obsessed with trying to redesign it. And that takes me to my first lesson. Success happens gradually and then all at once. So I spent 9 months. I threw away going and getting a grad job after getting my degree, and I just got obsessed with trying to solve this problem. And I spent 9 months, what other people would call failing, but I was trying really hard. And the first couple of months, my friends and my family were going, this is great, yeah, this is awesome, great idea. And after kind of month 6, month 7, it was kind of, maybe you should go get a job. But I kept going, and after this 9 months, I was talking to everyone. I didn't have any money. I wasn't the right person for the job, but suddenly I met the ex-CEO of Nestle, who had developed a compostable capsule that I was trying to develop, and he hadn't launched it yet, and I picked up the rights for New Zealand, and overnight I had my product. So success happens gradually and then all at once. And after getting the product to the country, I set up a website, and I thought, this is great. Keeping in mind this was 8 years ago, no one was really talking about plastic back then. But I set up a website and expected just to make sales. However, it didn't really go like that. So we battled away for about 6-7 months. I think we sold $500 worth of capsules, probably to family and friends. And then we got an article in the Herald, and we did $5,000 that day, and we were arranged in Harvey Norman about a month later. And they'd ignored all my calls, all my emails. They had samples already, which was convenient. So success really does happen gradually and then all at once. And my last one was with For the Better Good. When I decided a coffee capsule was a bit of a silly product, and when I tried to tell people about better materials, they'd say, I don't drink coffee. So I'd say, so I went away and I actually developed a bottle, because no one can say, I don't drink water. And now they have to listen to me talk about better materials. But it took me 3 years to get that to market. And those 3 years, once again, my friends and family for the first 6 months were very supportive, but year 1, year 2, year 3, where you're consistently not getting anything to market, not doing anything you set out to do, it gets really hard. However, we did end up getting a product to market after 3 years, and since then my expectations of what that company would become has blown my expectations, and it was worth that persistence persistence, and there was another word but I forgot it, was the main lessons I took away from that. My next one was, life is hard and it's worth choosing your hard. When I got into For the Better Good, I had to raise some money to get going, and I took on far more money than I'd probably ever earned if I added all the dollars I'd earned in my life. And I got to work, and I spent 3 years spending that money and not earning it. And just before we launched, so at this point I was really desperate to get a product to market, so it wasn't a complete failure. But we had this American company find us, and they flew all the way over from San Francisco. They brought 6 people. We flew up to Christchurch and took a lawyer. It was all very exciting. And they wanted 10 million bottles. And we hadn't even hit the market yet. So we were kind of It was very exciting. It was a good opportunity, and they sat down in the first 15 minutes, told us they own this whole distribution network throughout the US and how they could distribute everywhere because they had all these things. And after about 15 or 20 minutes of conversation, they'd flown 12 or 13 hours, I said, oh, great, well, you own all the trucks, so once we sell the bottles, people can return them and we can take them back through reverse logistics and compost them. And they said, oh, we don't want anything to do with that. And I just said, oh, well, we don't have anything for you, sorry. I don't know if the look on their face was worse than the look on my investor's face, but they were shocked. And we entertained the conversation for another 45 minutes, I guess, to be polite, and then walked out of the room, and I politely declined to work with them. Now, I got a letter or an email not too long after that from our investor saying, we want 50% of the company, or you have to pay us back all this money in the next 2 weeks, or you lose everything. And that wasn't the hard part. That was difficult. But the worst part was 2 weeks wasn't very long. Except I was about to fly to India in 6 days, go spend 2 weeks in a monastery, and then go to Nepal and go up Everest and run a marathon without reception in any of it. So I ended up raising the money in a few days, signing my whole rights over to my dad. You can do that, so he could sign all the contracts for me while I was away. But it was actually when I got home that it all hit me, and I was in more debt than I ever had been in my life. I had no team. I was the only staff member. The worst thing was I had loaned the money to pay him back, but I didn't have any working capital. And I was really scared. I was really overwhelmed. It was really hard. And I guess I thought back and I realised, well, I've worked at Hell Pizza and I've worked in supermarkets, and life wasn't dandy then either. I still had hard times. I still got stressed. So if life's going to go up and down, and it will, why don't you choose something worth the hard times? And then I decided, well, if I'm going to keep doing this, I better find my own definition of what an entrepreneur is. So I said, it's a person who sets up a business or businesses, does whatever needs to be done in the hope of positive change. Thank you.